So for some reason, these days when I try to go live, this chat box on the side here doesn't automatically come up. I have to manually make it come up, which is weird. I don't understand why. But I should be live and good to go. Apologize for any background noise. That would be the window unit because it is hot, especially since I just got done riding my bike from the local watering hole in the French Quarter, and that was interesting. I put my card in the ATM machine to get 20 bucks out and got 40 out. So I guess I'll be playing that slot machine again. And I think it was 2 tens that were left over from the people using it before me. And I think I threw them off because, hey, who's up? Fritz, what's up? I caught the end of your show and missed you. I had some questions, but nothing important. You'll see in a second. I'll try and get through the small talk and we'll work our way into it. Anyway, I think the people that used the ATM before me were confused because as they were using it, I told them, hey, that cigarette machine's broken. It keeps spitting out money. And they looked at me funny. And sometimes people understand and get my humor, and sometimes they don't. And I think this is one of those times where they just took my word for it and thought, oh, God, we're using the cigarette machine, not ATM, and left their money because I don't know how else those 2 tens got there. Anyway, best jukebox in town, too, even though it plays half the songs you pay for because the CDs are so old from being used. The laser is literally burned into the CDs. So camera's here, not over here. There's that. And had a couple Guinness. It's a decent day. I did some of my usual stupid, clever jokes and left. So what do we got? I wanted to do, and this was requested a couple of times, I wanted to do a live stream painting thing, and I still intend to do that, but I've been a machine. I've been going nonstop, and to stop and fiddle with and set up a live stream and then start painting and bringing everything in here would have been an untimely interruption for me. That's how fast I've been going with this painting business. And what I thought would take me a month and a half, 2 months, turns out it's taken me 2 weeks. So I've really surprised myself with this. It is, again, I've said this before, this is not what I've done here, which I'll show you in a second. It's not museum quality, but it exceeds my expectations for what I thought I was capable of doing. Now, this is like my 4th attempt at this. Anyway, let me bring you down here and we'll just go to it. Now, this camera for this, it's a HD 1080 Logitech on autofocus. I don't know how well it's going to do. Probably not well at all. I'll do my best here. Let's turn this around. What in the heck is that? Okay, yeah, go away. Let me turn this around so you can see it better without ruining everything I've done. I've gotten basically an army painted. So what would that mean? That means 4 battalions of line infantry, which makes what, a brigade? Battery of artillery. I've got a French line lancer. So is that a squadron? I don't know what it is. What is it? What is it? I don't know. Probably need to zoom out here. That's pretty good, huh? You can see that. There you go. Now, I haven't based these, as you can tell, and I'm not sure how I want to do that yet, so I'm not rushing that. This project started June 4th-ish, June 5th, and it is now June, what is it? What is it now? June 12th? No, June 19th. That means not 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So this is it's 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks that it's taken me to do this. And I'll make sure this is focused all right. Roughly 2 weeks to do this. I've surprised myself. And so what do we have here? I started with, the last video I did, I have a French line unit that I completed. Then I did another one. Then I did another one. Then I did another one. And I talked at length about that. Got some notes here as well. Where did those go? So I don't forget things. And okay, so what we got here? A couple of things has helped facilitate this project. Now, as far as motivation goes, I think it was built up from procrastinating for about a year, putting off painting these guys. And I finally just said, you know what? They ain't going to paint themselves, so just start painting. And don't think about how much you have to paint. Just focus on one bite at a time. You know, don't try and choke yourself trying to. I think the last time I started painting these, I tried to do everybody French wise, anything that was black, all of them. That's that's ridiculous. So I just took one line and did everybody black, etc. Then did the next color, and just focused on that one bite at a time, right? And then the next line, and then I did another line, and then I did a fourth line, and I kind of was on this groove where I thought, well, let's just keep rolling because this is only half the French I own. And I thought, no, let's start doing something else, and I don't want to burn myself out. So then I went to artillery, and that was probably the easiest to paint. The line units were a bit cumbersome for various reasons. The damn white straps and belts and things were a bit of a headache. But then from the artillery, I went to my first Horse C cavalry unit, this leader here, and painted him. And as kind of a test for the cavalry units proper, so he turned out, in my opinion, relatively okay. And then I went ahead and tackled these French line lancer units, which would have gone quicker, but then you have, like, at least I had dudes on wrong horses, and what else did I have? I had too many actual guys with lances because historically only the front rank carried lances. The guys behind them didn't. But I think these came out. I'm really happy with especially these brown horses because what I used was like, I think it's Army Painter Werewolf Fur, which is an odd name, but for the primary color for the horse, and then went back with a saddle brown from Vallejo and did the highlights. I don't typically try to tackle that stuff, but I did, and it came out all right. Now, the uniforms I went round and round with, I think I had a red and green initially. That looked too Christmassy for me, so I changed it to blue. And if you ask me what that means, I don't know. Is it the unit that is, or the regiment color? I have a lot to learn yet. I've learned things, but I still have a lot to learn. Thank you, Fritz, for your kind compliment. The actual little pennants on the lances came out better than I thought they would. That was done freehand. Thought I was going to have to use tape to get a straight line, but if you have your paint a certain consistency, it'll do what you want. Now, the white color, for whatever reason, I find is a little too thick. So you would think I would thin it, right? Well, no, because if you thin it, then you have to do multiple layers for white. And I refuse to repaint the same thing again and again. So I just fought with it in its thickened state, syrupy state, and just, dealt with it. But I think these guys came out all right. I have one leader left. I think I'll call him the General de Armée, and we'll call him the General de Brigade, or Brigade. I still have him left to do. I kind of thought I would leave him for maybe a live paint stream. Who knows? But let's check the notes here and see what I've left out here. Now, initially, I had said I would leave everybody gray, the greatcoats for the French line, because psychologically I couldn't deal with a variation in color, namely the tan and dark brown greatcoats that you find intermingled amongst them. I tried it and found that it didn't taste as bad as I thought it would. So I went ahead and did that. I think one quarter of these guys will have a brown or tan gray coat as opposed to just everybody being gray. The command units. So what I would do is it took about a day to do the actual soldiers, and then the command unit took a day on its own because of the detail required for those guys. It's a lot going on. But it really felt good finishing a unit and then putting the flag and the eagle on the staff. That was nice. What else? I've already talked about flank companies. Now I had to adjust those because I had them all wrong heads on guys. That continued throughout. I had to make sure the proper guys with the proper, not palms, but whatever the hell they're called, were on the right shakos with the epaulets, and that was a headache. Going back to the line lancers, I think I had a guy mounted on the wrong horse, because initially when I built these all, I wasn't rigid as far as what actually goes with what, so I was content just mixing and matching things for whatever need I needed to fulfill. But looking back on it, well, this guy here needs to be on a certain horse, and he was on the wrong horse, so that drove me nuts, so I had to change him. Things like that. So this is what we're looking at here, is roughly, let's see, well, this is about, well, I've already said this is about half of the French infantry that I own now finished. Then I have one artillery gun left, so I've got, well, 3/4 of that finished. And I have two other cavalry units, this being one of three. So I've really made, when you think about it, in 2 weeks, a hell of a lot of progress. Again, I haven't based these yet, but I'm being very picky about that and how I decide to do that. I'm not sure yet. And then that brings us to what's next. So what's next is a bit of a break, because I've really been running around with a chicken with its head cut off, just painting like mad. And I knew that would happen, and that was part of the reason why I was reluctant to start this, because of how I'm built. I knew that I wouldn't be able to stop until it was all done or mostly done. So I haven't been able to stop until this point, really. I've been rolling forward nonstop until I got to this point, which I have decided is a decent stopping point to take a break. But I mean, wake up and paint, come home from work and paint, and I work full time, so any free time I've had, I've just painted. Now, the thing that helps is all of these have already been built for the most part, some incorrectly, as I've talked about. So that saved time. They've already been primed, so that saved time. But that brings us to what's next, and I don't know if I should continue on with more French stuff, or if I should start tackling the British. Now, there's a bit of a enticement involved with the British, that being the 95th Rifles. I ordered some more of those, and I'm kind of itching to paint those. You know, those are fun to look at and a fine historical unit to tackle. But then, of course, I've got all the other British stuff. So what should I do? More French or British stuff? Probably we'll start painting some foes for these guys. So eventually I can start getting these guys on the table and then add as I go forward from there. What else? As I've already said, already built. And yeah, that did save a lot of time having already built these guys. So that covers the main gist of things. I did buy an OT light, and that helped. So the lighting in this entire house, no matter where I go, I feel like everything's half dark, is an ongoing issue. But that OT light really helped as far as lighting. and it has a magnifying glass in it, so I was able to hold the guys under the outlight and paint and get some close-up stuff as needed there. So that helped out a lot purchase-wise. And overall, I've been learning a lot about uniforms and things that I didn't even notice were part of a uniform, trying to figure out what in the hell they are and how to paint them. So that was interesting. Learning lesson there. I'm still learning things as I go. Another thing that I don't know that I came up with this. I'm sure I didn't. But another thing I noticed myself starting to do, and I wanted to be careful doing this because it could be considered lazy, but I started referring to it as perspective painting. What do I mean by that? Perspective painting, as I've come to refer to it, is painting these guys such that when they're on the table, everything looks great. But if you pick them up and look, say, from this angle, certain things aren't painted. Now, is that cheating? Well, it definitely saves time. And I found myself subconsciously doing that. And I had to make sure I allowed for some of that to occur. Because again, some of these things, unless you completely hold a figure and look upside down, you're not going to see certain features. And while this guy, for instance, is painted 360, some things, again, I did allow by way of time saving. I've started referring to that as perspective painting. I don't know if there's another technical term for it, but it's definitely something that if you want to save time and you're happy with just presenting them how they'll be on the table, then I guess don't paint things that are underneath unless you plan on picking them up and looking at them upside down. So there's that. Let's see. They will do the trick well. Yeah, you'll be seeing a live paint along here before too long. Another thing is, I think that was keeping me from painting was a certain area I felt comfortable painting in. So where I'm streaming from is fine, but it seems a little claustrophobic here. I'm kind of wedged in here. Can't do it in the living room. So I basically commandeered the kitchen table for 2 weeks, and that's just full of brushes and paints and palettes and rags. And I think every dish rag I own now has paint streaks on it. But I found it rather cozy in there and not a whole lot of distractions in there. So out here, there's TV, there's computer, and it's too easy to get distracted and just start losing progress. So when I'm in there, I'm painting, it's work, and it's just full steam ahead. So very happy with these guys. Still a lot of work to do, but I've really surprised myself with what I've been able to do in roughly 2 weeks, plus or minus. What else? I finally broke down and purchased, maybe I can bring the camera back up here. I finally broke down and purchased, because I've been using PDF print-offs of the Black Powder rule books for the Rules Proper and the 100 Days Campaign Supplement, which is fine. It serves its purpose. But as it turns out, I guess I like the Black Powder rules. And I thought if you like them, and I didn't pay for the PDFs that I have, and they didn't have the page numbers on them, so that was an issue. I thought, let's be fair. You use them, you like them. Page numbers are nice to have. I went ahead and bought the hardback copy rule book of it and the actual official copy of the 100 Days Campaign Manual. It's only fair, and as it turns out, I guess I'll be using it. Now, here's another thing I'd like to add. There are no shortage of Warlord-esque Black Powder videos. And you may say to yourself, sweet baby Jesus, why, Jason, would you succumb to that and just pump out more of the same? Well, I've thought about that. And my best answer is there's a reason that there's a lot of these videos, and the reason is these rules are user-friendly. They work. They're fun to use. It's not just, oh, I'm a Warlord fanboy, or Warlord is sending me royalty checks for doing videos about their stuff. It's quality stuff. It's approachable. It's not, again, there's a reason why you see so many of these videos. It's good stuff. So I guess I just did an unboxing. I thought I would wait, but I didn't. This is the Volume 2, the 100 Days campaign. Great cover art. Happy to get this. And, of course, the second edition Black Powder Rulebook. So, good to go there. And excited about that, to be honest with you. I also purchased, there's this, if you go to Amazon.com, no, eBay, I'm sorry. I'm going to give these guys a shout out because I find myself not even intentionally ordering from these guys. It's called DZUR, Zur's Treasures, and it's from College Station, Texas. And anything I ever seem to need or want, whether it's little plastic bases or figures or this stuff or that stuff. In fact, I even ordered a can of Angel Green Army Painter spray paint so I can coat the 95th rifles and approach that from a more fast-paced approach instead of brushing everything green, because those guys are primarily green. I order from them. That's DZUR Zur's Treasures on eBay out of College Station, Texas. I wonder if they have a brick and mortar store. I'm almost tempted to drive there, although that would be roughly an all-day drive one time and just to see what they have and load up on some stuff. But I got enough stuff. Anyway, I wanted to give them a shout out because their shipping is awesome. Everything's always packed well. And it's very timely shipping. They don't make you wait, which I don't understand with places, you don't make them wait for your payment. You pay them right away. So why do they make you wait 5 or 6 days before they ship their stuff? I think that's ridiculous. I think that's poor customer service. But these guys, as soon as you make their payment, they're already almost shipping it. So shout out to them. Let's see, anything else? A good point. I should work on some Brits so I don't burn out on the French. And again, I don't want to be so far behind the British that it becomes a more of like oh my God, I'll never finish it. Look how much French I have done and no British. So there's a psychological consideration there. Painting is a lifelong learning thing, if that's what you're referring to. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Deeper down the rabbit hole, yeah, I know. I'll be honest with you. When I was a youngster, I remember going to a brick and mortar store back when you could buy war games at the store, hobby stores and stuff. And I remember seeing, I don't remember what they were, but they were little 15 millimeter-ish little packs of Napoleonic guys. And I thought, wow, that's great. I went through a little brief Napoleonic phase as a 15, 16 years old. And very rudimentary paint jobs that I put on them. If it was French, it was blue with white stripes for their straps across their chest and back. That was it. I think my friend had some British or something. So technically this isn't my first foray into Napoleonic miniatures and painting, but this is definitely the first deep dive into this stuff. Which brings me to another thing I wanted to share. I guess you could ask yourself, why do this? You've complained about wanting to do it. You've spent all this time doing this. You're still not done. It seems like a headache. Well, it is. It's work. It's a headache. Yeah, I still got a lot more to do. I will still moan and complain about it as I have. But I have to say, when I finish a unit, it's like Christmas. Because you start out with just these plastic sprues of crap. You glue it together, you base it, you paint it, and when you're done, you've literally created something on your own, and the finished result is like a Christmas present to yourself. There's a serious sense of accomplishment and pride in having done this. God bless board games, etc. But when you start the game, when you end the game, it's the same contents that you began and ended with. You haven't added any really creativity to it, other than, I guess you could argue, gameplay. You can be creative in that respect. But this is a total creative, in my opinion, endeavor. And that's not to say that this is better than that. It's just, I'm trying to answer why somebody might succumb to this bout of masochism with this painting thing. Because there's a real sense of accomplishment when you finish. And looking at the stuff that I have in front of me here, a major sense of accomplishment, honestly. And it's reflective kind of your personality, because you get 15 people painting the same thing. None of it's going to come out looking the same. It's going to reflect your particular taste and style, and etc. So there's that. That's why paint. And these guys look great. Anywho, so I already talked about finding a nice area to paint. So for those of you, again, that are on the fence and considering doing this and haven't bit the bullet yet, again, make sure you have, I guess, don't be afraid to spend money, because it's not a cheap endeavor. You need the guys, you need paints, you need brushes, an outlight, or some sort of light with a magnifying glass, be it what Fritz wears. I think he has a head-mounted gig that he has. I didn't want anything I had to wear on my head, so I just have that where it shines right on the table, and then I hold the guys underneath the light and the magnifying glass. That helps. And having a nice area conducive to painting and not being too distracting, or etc. So give it a shot. You might surprise yourself. I think I've surprised myself. I'm glad I stuck with it. Again, this is probably my 4th or 5th attempt at this. I thought I would never paint them. I think I did. Hey, Viper Dave. Welcome, sir. I even talked briefly with Fritz regarding price quotes on him painting these for me. And, the more I thought about it, I'm like, this is ridiculous. And to be honest with you, I'd have had all this done already if I would have quit fitzing and farting around whining about it. So I just started painting. And that's pretty much that. Wanted to share that with you. I'm not sure when I'll do a live painting stream. I will do my best to announce that ahead of time. I have this habit of just doing random impromptu streams, and I don't know. That's my track record, but I'll try and announce that ahead of time. And I forget the gentleman's name, but he mentioned that we can inspire each other as far as the painting goes, and I get that. I suppose that's why a number of these painting streams exist. It's a way to keep yourself entertained and motivated, because it's a hell of an endeavor. But again, that's what we're looking at. So anything else going on? No. I haven't really gained much of late because, I've been painting. Still have the Warlord Epic Battle Civil War stuff on the table. Here's another thing to consider. Well, if you do want to get into this painting miniatures thing, you really need to consider scale before you start pumping out money for stuff. Because if you have terrain you have to put these guys on, and if you don't have the space, I would recommend against 28 millimeter. If you have the space, by all means, 28 millimeter is the way to go. You get the most bang for your buck as far as detail and pop on these guys. But if you're limited to space, and I guess you're limited to money even, it's probably better to go 15 millimeter or even smaller. Although I would argue really anything below 6 millimeters is too little. I mean, you're getting so small, it's silly almost. No offense to anybody out there, but you just don't get, in my opinion, the amount of detail that is worth having a miniature for. So take into consideration your scale. And again, if you have a lot of room, 28 millimeters is the way to go if you're limited. Because think about it, you're gonna have to add like trees and buildings and whatnot. And if I got these 28 millimeters on the table, well, obviously can't use the little buildings I have. They're like almost 6 millimeter size. You need big stuff. And I think one of these sets I ordered, the Waterloo set maybe, which has French and British. One of them, it does come with a building. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm not married to buildings, so I don't know how many buildings I need. Just a flat open field is fine with me. I think I've painted thousands. Yeah, Fritz, I don't know how you even keep track of what you painted. Every time I turn the computer on, you're painting something. I just wonder when you're going to finish that stream you've been painting. It's got to be the longest stream in history, the little river you've been painting. So anything else? Yes. I did place a pre-order for, I think I've already mentioned this, but I try to keep up with, since I already have all this stuff, more than I'll ever need. I've really dialed it back on picking up board war games. I've got games coming out of my ears, games I haven't even really opened and punched. But I do keep up with the ASL stuff, and Howl Legions, the new 3rd edition, is that what it's at now? I put that on order, and some ASL starter kit, something or other for $18. I put that on order. That's it. I don't spend the money I used to spend on that stuff, so I guess it's all gone to this miniature stuff. And another thing I thought about, and I'd like to throw this out by way of conversation, is there's this ongoing question or myth that Napoleonics is too daunting to get into. It has a high barrier of entry, and you can argue a number of reasons why that is. But when it comes to other things, say World War II, you might ask yourself, well, why don't more people get into the Napoleonic era? Well, World War II has its caveats. It has, obviously things that didn't exist in the Napoleonic era, namely planes, tanks, etc. But one of the things I thought about, and if you're looking for inspiration for the Napoleonic era, there's not a lot out there if you don't like to read. If you like to read, you're good. But as far as like movies and media and TV shows, World War II all over the place, Civil War even, etc. But when it comes to Napoleonics, what is there to watch on the screen and gain inspiration from? I think you've got 2 or 3 versions of War and Peace now that you can watch. The Bondarchuk version, this 2016 version, which is, by the way, a very good version. The old Waterloo movie, and then some other odds and ends with maybe like 5, 10, 15 minutes of Napoleonic stuff spliced into the movie for whatever reason. But I think that's an issue. I think if there were more things that were more easily accessible for folks to see and latch onto, that might create more of a draw into Napoleonic stuff. And then I guess some of you might argue I don't see any lag in Napoleonics as far as people hopping into it. There's plenty of them, and I get that. But yeah, so another obvious draw for, Rob, I think we've talked about this actually, Rob, or if it wasn't you, it was somebody else. If only Kubrick. Yeah, Stanley Kubrick wanted to do a Napoleonic movie, and he came very close to doing it. There's a book you can buy with all the research he had accumulated in preparation for shooting that movie. And then what was it? Was it the Waterloo movie that came out? And I guess it didn't do as well as folks thought it would do in the box office, and his funders, if you will, decided that a Napoleonic movie would not create the draw that Stanley thought it would. They should have just let him do it. But so they kind of put the kibosh on that. Yeah, he literally had little 3x5 cards? Is that what they are? When you go to a card catalog at an old library and pull the drawer out and flip through the cards. He had a whole thing of that, like chest high and arms width wide, that full of information on the Napoleon, and you could ask what was going on this day, etc., and you could find that card, and this is what was happening. This is what Napoleon was up to or doing or had done, or etc. His research for this thing was off the charts, and it's a shame it never got made. Yeah, I think we did talk about this. But again, to go back to what Fritz was saying, so the obvious draw for people and the Napoleonic thing is, well, I guess you can't be colorblind, right? Because the beautiful uniforms, now here I have like all this late war drab gray and brown and earth tone great coats on these line units, but for the most part, most, if not all, of the Napoleonic stuff, other than the late war gray coats, it's all just colorful, almost like candy. It's just, if you can see, I mean, I'm just losing myself in the uniforms and the detail and the this and the that, and there was so much involved. It's really impressive, the amount of thought and consideration that went into the development and design of uniforms for each specific type of unit, not just cavalry in general, but this type of cavalry, that type of cavalry, this type of infantry, this type. Across the board, it's just, super impressive. Anything else? Not sure I've got anything else. So if you guys don't hear from me, no news is good news. That means I'm painting away. I will do my best to throw in something other than this. I say that, but again, my downfall is once I really get going with something, I don't stop until I'm done. So does that mean I'll paint everything I have over there? No. But I'd at least like to get a roughly equal amount of British stuff so that I can throw these guys on the table. And I still have to base these guys, and I don't know if you're still there, Fritz, but I guess I can go back and watch. I noticed you mixing a batch of what looked like cookie batter, and it was dark brown. I'm wondering how you got it to look dark brown, because I have things I can use for basing, but it's going to be white or pink, because that's what I typically use. Spackle, what makes the spackle earth color? Do you mix paint with that? And also, brown, you mix brown paint with it? Okay. If Warlord done Napoleonic epic, I'm in, though I'd like English Civil War. The jury's out on what Warlord will do next with their epic battles. I don't know what would prevent them from doing Napoleonic stuff. The interesting question there would be, what era do they do? Do they do late war stuff? Because the uniforms change, they evolved over time, right? Do they do early war stuff? And not that it matters. I'll probably buy it either way, because as much as I like this U.S. Civil War stuff on the table, I would like it 10 times better if it was Napoleonic stuff. So brown paint, cheap craft paint, okay. Because I would like to be able to spackle this and not have to go back and paint it brown, which is what I did with the Flames of War stuff. I used Drydex. Goes on pink, it's all mushy and gooey. It dries, it turns white, and then I have to go back and paint it brown, blah, blah, blah. I'd really like to cut out that paint it brown step, so that's good to know. English Civil War, I don't know that Warlord will or will not do that. Let's hope they do Napoleonic stuff before that, though. So yeah, I got to base these guys, and then also, I don't know what, really it's up to me to decide what I like better, but I'm trying to decide on whether I base these guys with like flock, which is just like miniature clumps of stuff, or static grass. I don't know if I'll get the coverage I want with static grass, although I like the look of static grass. Strong tone wash is also something I should advertise once again. All right, Rob, because that has allowed me to accept the my painting. So when I get done with a unit, I put the strong tone wash over it, and it really, I don't know why or how it works, but it makes the overall paint scheme kind of gel together. It doesn't dilute anything or whatever, but I don't know. It's hard to explain, but without that, in fact, the few times I've tried to paint these guys in the past without using that, they just didn't look right. I couldn't figure out what it was. They looked unfinished. But when I wash all these guys with the strong tone, it does something. It makes them look complete. I don't know what it is. I wonder about medium tone. The strong tone is a bit dark. Now, I put it on fairly liberally, so that might be an issue, but I'm wondering if like a medium tone might be something to consider there. So, John Longshore, long time no see, sir. I've missed your wisecracks. No shortage of wisecracks from John Longshore, a very humorous guy, and I mean that in sincerity. I use a mix of green brown flock, a little sand or kitty litter, and some static grass. Maybe add a twig. Well, I'll consider that. Again, I need a kind of production line way of doing this too, because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on each one of these bases. So I'll figure it out. I thought maybe there's a way to get like a tray and fill it with something and then set each base in it so it just comes to the tip of their boots. And then do. Sounds easy, but that would probably just be a headache in the long run, because then when it dries, you got to cut them out, or how do you deal with that? Strong tone is the medium wash. Dark tone is the darker one. Okay, I think, all right, so strong tone. So I bought a paint kit for the British and the French, and it comes with this strong tone. Thank God, because I probably would have never painted these guys, because they would never look right. But that's how I was hipped to this wash stuff, which I've been aware of, but never really paid attention to back in the day. Again, I used to always dry brush things. But as I've said, it really just made them look like they were skidded up with charcoal. So thank God for the washes. That's about it. If any of you guys have a question or anything, I'm happy to answer. It is hot here in Louisiana. I'll say that. Probably got a trip home to St. Louis coming up in August. Not sure if I'll bring something with me. About a week I'll be spending there, so that's some solid downtime. I think if I didn't do something, I've got this like weird thing that I will regret wasting my time having done nothing, even though it's technically a kind of vacation. I always feel like I need to be doing something, so I guess I'll have to bring something. Let's see, John says, or you can just have a tray of grass, paint the base in Elmer's glue, and splash it around. Or use paint instead of glue. The best thing about black powder is they treat the Russians and Austrians with respect. Do you think so? I've looked briefly at the other nationalities. I think it's a shame they don't give more options for the other nationalities, like the Russians, etc. But whatever. I guess that's what Perry Miniatures is for. You just go somewhere else. There's no shortage of manufacturers for this stuff. It just depends on what you like, style-wise, and if it's metals or plastics. I don't have a problem. I thought I preferred plastics, but I suppose I don't have a problem with metals. It's just sometimes with metals, some things look a little chunky or a little more rough than plastics. I don't know. Probably just me. Most NAP rules just treat the early coalition as leadless boobs. Yeah, Perry's good. Some at some point down the road, I'll want something like, if I continue in the same vein, I'll probably want something like Brunswickers, right? And well, then you got to go to Perry for that stuff. So, um, yeah. Let me ask you while you're here, Mr. Fritzer, how often do you find yourself painting for your own personal gratification, for things for your own table? Do you find yourself straying away from that because you do it so much as a business? Maybe you would paint more for yourself if you weren't doing it constantly to make money. Um, or do you have pretty much everything at this point? You're content, the things that you would like to have painted, they're painted. Just curious there. I think if I did not that I would ever do it, but if I was in your shoes, I think I would be less inclined to paint things for myself if I'm painting for other people. So that's really all I wanted to talk about as I wind down here. It's about 6 o'clock on my time, Central Time. If you like hockey, it's a great time to be watching the playoffs. Some good stuff there. It's down to 4 teams. We've got Vegas and the Canadiens, and I don't know why, but I don't like Vegas. I think it's a gimmick team. I don't care about Fleury and how allegedly good he is. He is good. I don't like that team. I have much more respect for the Canadiens. They just play hockey. They don't need all that crap at the fortress that they have, like junk that they have going on. I understand a lot of people like that. Just play hockey. You don't need all that crap. And then you got the Islanders in Tampa, and I guess I'm an underdog guy, so I'd like to see the Islanders knock off the Tampa Bay Lightning, especially since Tampa won the Cup last season. But if it comes down to Vegas and Tampa, I'll be rooting for Tampa. I am rooting for the Islanders, yes, very much so. I am impressed by that team. They remind me of the 2019 St. Louis Blues, the way they play. They're honest, straightforward, hardworking team. They don't rely on flashy, overpaid guys and, a boatload of skill. It's respectable hard work. I really admire that team. I hope they go far, and if you guys go all the way, I'm all for it. Watching you guys play, is it the Coliseum? Your home arena? It's so raucous in there. I couldn't imagine being there for a live game. I just couldn't even imagine. It is. I don't know if there's any other place like that when it comes to playing live in front of your home crowd. Talking about paint minis, yeah, I'm boring everybody with my latest rabbit hole endeavor with the Napoleonic miniature stuff. I'll pan it down again real quick for late comers. Look at all that I've painted in 2 weeks. I've got French Lion Lancers and 4 battalions of, am I saying this right? 4 battalions of French Line. I've got a battery of artillery there. I've got a brigade leader or an army leader. I'm soon to have a painted brigade leader. This is all I've been doing other than work for 2 weeks. So, again, for all you latecomers, I already talked about this earlier and did the showy telly thing, but here we go again. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. So, keeping busy. And the conversation has devolved inevitably to hockey, specifically New York Islanders. And, yeah, impressed by that team and hope they go far. Although I will say that the last game they played, they looked a little slow and tired. And that's not to say that I think Tampa had much to do with that. I think that the Islanders just looked a little slow and tired. Fine little army in just 2 weeks? I think so. I am happy with what I've done. I thought this would take 2 months, which was another reason I was reluctant to tackle it. I'm like, do I want to spend 2 months of my time hunched over? And you guys have to remember, I have back problems, and this has been a bit of a challenge with that as well. Especially last night, I overdid it, or yesterday rather. I had off yesterday because of the new federal holiday is known as Juneteenth. Look that up if you're unfamiliar. But government workers, and as I'm a city worker for the library, I found out the day before, about halfway through the day, that you'll be off tomorrow. So a little more notice would have been nice, but I'm not complaining. Anyway, I spent the whole day yesterday hunched over painting, and when it came time to stand up, I almost couldn't stand up, so I had to lay flat, do stretches. I'm a mess. I didn't think I would do as well as I'm doing today, but doing all right. John, you're the one that suggested a live painting session. Bless you. Um, you'll get your wish at some point. It'll probably be, again. I thought about. I didn't forget you. I thought about doing that at some point with this, and then it was sit down and paint. So I paint the kitchen on the kitchen table. The stuff to stream is out here. Not that I can't bring that stuff in here, but there's some logistics that need to take place. I'll take care of it. What you'll probably see is, again, a week or two live stream. We'll get some British out here, and I'll fumble through trying to figure out what this is and how it's painted and what color it should be painted. Lots of fun there. So yeah, Joe, wish you guys luck with the Islanders. Impressed with that team, man. I really am, and I hope you guys come out gangbusters tonight, because you need to. Anybody have anything else they want to chit chat about or ask? Anything, Bueller? I can't talk when I paint, so I would just aim the camera at the TV for entertainment. I guess that's like playing the guitar and singing. I can't do that. I can, but it's really hard. I can either play guitar or I can sing, but like my mind, it can't mesh the two. I can't do both at the same time. So I get what you're saying. I did spring for the rule book proper. I've been using a pirated PDF copy with no page numbers, and I thought, I want to keep playing this. Let's be honest and pay for what needs to be paid for, and have page numbers and color and hardback. And then I picked up I'll Buy 'em Triumphant. There's a volume 1 to this, but early war stuff interests me less. I'm a bit cliche in that respect. I really like all things Waterloo. I have quite a nice, I got you guys here. I got a relatively nice collection of Waterloo books. I'll bring those over. Waterloo. Live stream. I'm coming. All right, here I am. So I've started inadvertently collecting Waterloo books. There's no shortage of those. One thing I've come to learn, there's no shortage of Hitler books and Waterloo books. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know how much more you can say about Hitler that hasn't been said, but the books keep coming. I don't get it. I think everything that needs to be said about the guy's been said. A continuing morbid fascination with that idiot. But we've got The Longest Afternoon, which is the 400 men who decided the Battle of Waterloo. And this deals with, is this La Hassaigne? Or Hougoumont? I think it's La Hassaigne. Am I correct? Am I wrong? Yeah, it deals with the King's German Legion at La Hassaigne. So just about that. That's it. So that's very cool. No, don't be envious of this stuff. I mean, it's just nothing to be envious of. A lot of these games, I digress again. A lot of these games are like redundant. What do I mean by that? So Do you need four different copies of this Panzer game from GMT? No, you need one because it's the same damn game, but different maps and a different geographical era, etc. But it's the same game. You're fine with just one of them. Same with this OCS stuff. Do you need all these OCS titles? No, you need one. It's the same game, but different geographical era, maybe a different time frame, etc. But it's at the end of the day, it's the same game. Same with the SCS and the Tactical Combat Series. Do you need all those? No. You really just need one because it's the same game. So you see what I'm getting at? Combat Commander, all that stuff. It's one game, but then they get you with all the expansions. So don't be too envious of all this stuff. If you want to be envious of the old Avalon Hill Victory game stuff. That's the cream of the crop there. Yeah, I mean, like the commands and colors. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just in the Napoleonic field for commands and colors, I've got 7 of them, and I think I'm missing one. And then, but it's the same game. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll shut up. I've said it's the same game like 15 times. But thank you. I mean, I appreciate your appreciation of my collection. Sounds English. Zhukov's Greatest Battles by Marshal Zhukov. Anyway, where was I? I digress again. And I think I've shared these before, but Waterloo, New Perspectives, The Great Battle Reappraised. There's that. Went the Day Well. Witnessing Waterloo, and that's another reason why I haven't been pulling the trigger on games, these games of late, because other than ASL, that's where I kind of dig myself. I will continue to keep abreast of their releases because I've got a problem, but there will continue to be OCS games released. But I think I have it. Sure, it's different box art and it's this battle as opposed to that battle, but it's the same damn game. Waterloo, The History of 4 Days, 3 Armies, and 3 Battles by Bernard Cornwell, author of Sharpe's Battles, which they've made a TV series out of, and Waterloo, The 100 Days by Mr. David Chandler, the David Chandler. Got that. And we have Napoleon in the 100 Days by Stephen Coote. You old Coote. Waterloo, June 15th, 1815, The Battle for Modern Europe by Andrew Roberts. We have this guy. If you can only get one, I have visions of me dropping stuff. I'm holding this right over, this 15-pound book right over everything I just spent 2 weeks doing. Hold with care. Waterloo Companion. If you can only get one book on Waterloo, make it this. Mark Adkin. Now, he's done a couple of these, I think one for World War I, maybe. It is the most comprehensive thing I've ever come across for this battle. Anything and everything, things you don't want to know are in here. You're like, I don't want to know that. I don't need to know that. It's in here. It's way comprehensive. Make that, if you can only buy one Waterloo book. And then this cool stuff I found in the basement, literally in the basement of the library. Go through there, and it's books that aren't officially in the catalog anymore. They're so old, and they're eventually going to get thrown out. That's what's. Did I say that? I'm not supposed to say that, but that's what's happening. But we have Waterloo by Hooper. Look at this whole thing with the brittle pages. Waterloo, The Downfall of the First Napoleon. This came out in 1904. Old book there. We have Campaigns. Is it Campaign or Campaigns? Campaign of Waterloo by General Baron de Jomini. Jomini may be a familiar name to some of you. He was kind of the contemporary of Clausewitz, if I'm not mistaken. This came out in 1853. Pretty cool little book there. So another book on Waterloo, and then not done. Okay, yeah, we are done. But then I have, unrelated to Waterloo, we have Napoleon and his Marshals by McDonald, another library find here in New Orleans at the library I work at. Napoleon and his Marshals, 1934 edition there. I don't know why my camera's working so good today. That's kind of cool. It doesn't usually work this well. And then finally we have Napoleon's campaign in Poland. Can't forget that. 1806-7. Why is this of interest to me? Because my second favorite battle is in here, and that is the Battle of Eylau. And it talks about it at great length. This came out in 1901. So there's that. So the nice little collection of items here. And again, if you want inspiration, this is the route you have to go. Your ability to sit down and turn on a TV show or a movie, again, like World War II, and you have 15,000 options, because World War II will always be the everybody's favorite. But for Napoleonic inspiration, you got to go the literary route. So there's that. Anything else? Let's see what some of you have mentioned by way of comments. I think my best Waterloo books involve uniform colors. Every nation has a different opinion of the battle, but they can't change the uniforms. Yeah, so slightly, not slightly, but a very objective viewpoint to take regarding the Napoleonic era is to examine the uniforms. It's kind of hard to argue by way of interpretation when it comes to that. My single battle is Borodino. Too many books on that subject. Borodino is also an interesting battle, but I tend to steer clear of that for a couple of reasons. It's more like a siege battle to me. When it comes to that, my interest wanes a little bit, but impressive battle nonetheless. Germany was a staff officer under Napoleon. You're correct, John. John wins. What does John win? John wins something. You get a stuffed animal. That is exactly right. He was. In fact, I have a 4-volume biography of Napoleon by Germany still at the library. I just haven't brought it home. I appreciate old books, but feel like I'll get some skin virus reading them. Yeah, these things are so old and brittle. I think it really, all it does is amount to cockroach food. They'll eat the cockroaches are just awful. They'll eat like the glue that you bind books with. They eat all kinds of stuff. I hate them. If there's one species of living thing that could be wiped off the face of the earth, I would choose cockroaches. I don't think the world would be any worse off without them. That's about it. We've gone an hour. Unless anybody has one last thing to share or ask or state, now is the time. I'm going to head out of here, figure out what to eat for dinner, and gear up for the Tampa Islanders game. You should do the same. I'll be painting, and look for that live stream. I'll try and announce it ahead of time. Also basing. I have some basing to do. And a lot of work that I've done here in 2 weeks. But the greater the amount of work, the greater the reward and payoff. And I have to say, I almost feel like I'm in a dream seeing this stuff sitting here before me painted. Never thought I'd see the day. All right, guys. Take care, and we'll chat again. Keep in touch. Bye-bye.